All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get we do have breakfast coming from Chick-fil-A today. They were supposed to be here about 15 minutes ago, so Gracie is on the phone calling them, hey, what's the deal here? So hopefully they'll come in very soon with some chicken biscuits and some fruit, and then we'll take a break and feed ourselves at that point. I just didn't want you guys to leave today without being fully fed, you know? We were dismissing and getting out at noon, and then I didn't have any kind of meal for you, and then I'm like, that just doesn't seem right, so I'm gonna feed you. And then I'll feel better. All right, so what I would like for you guys to do this morning to get started, I would like for you to grab one of those little cubes from the center of your table and find a picture on that cube that represents something to you about this class, okay? So it can be anything, all right? You're going to be creative and draw some conclusions between one of the pictures on those cubes and this class, okay? And then I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to share your observation with people sitting at your table, okay? You guys got it? Sure. All right. I'm getting your creative brain working this morning. We gotta go. Okay. And
I'm gonna do that. But yeah, I need to hear growth. I've grown in a lot of different areas. Some and the map.
I had my side in. So now that one.
We were here for some hours. And I've seen these people, I haven't seen them for years. And I find them, so, you know, you'll run into each other.
Outside of profession, stand.
Oh, really?
He got, yeah.
Really charged up.
Yeah.
Really excited.
And he basically, real big for us.
I was a little tasted the story.
Yeah. David Fisher.
Carol and them had called you.
Did you guys get finished?
You know, take a little break.
He teaches class.
Yeah, he teaches class.
All right. All right, so if I can have your attention this way, let me tell you where we're going today. We have a half a day. We're going to push a lot of good stuff into that half a day. We are going to spend a good majority of our time today talking about the Methodist Church. We're going to be talking about this book. I mean, imagine that we're talking about the Methodist Church right around General Conference. I mean, we won't talk about General Conference specifically, but we will be talking about our denomination and what it means to be a part of this denomination and those kinds of things. Okay. So we'll spend a good amount of time on that. We'll talk about what we believe, but we'll also spend a little bit of time talking about the structure. Some of you guys are in the structure and you know it, and you could probably teach this part of the class. But I know that others in this class may not be as familiar with all of the wording and the lingo and all of these kinds of things. I have never in my whole entire life met an organization with more abbreviations and acronyms than the United Methodist Church.
There's the Navy.
Military.
Well, military, okay. And see, I've not been a part of that in my life. So some of you guys, yes, appreciate that, yeah. But next to the military, I think this is second, okay? So we'll talk a little bit about that. We are not gonna get into all of the details of all of those things. If you want to know all of those things, I'll connect you with somebody who has all the knowledge. So we'll do that today. And then at the very end, I want to spend a little bit of time with you guys, giving you the opportunity to kind of feedback to me about this class. Because even as we're ending this one, Nita and I are talking about the next one, and what we'll do and where it's going to be and dates and all that kind of stuff. And so before I get things set in stone and figure out what we need to do, I don't want to repeat mistakes. Or even if they weren't mistakes, I don't want to repeat something the same way and miss out on an opportunity to improve. So at the end of our time together, we're going to have kind of an evaluation session where you guys can kind of feedback to me. And please know that if you're the kind of person that, hey, I really have something to say, but I don't want to say it in front of the group, give me a index card with your thoughts on it. You don't have to say something in front of the group. And if you're the kind of person that you think, oh, well, I don't want to hurt Anne's feelings, my feelings are really hard to hurt. So you guys just say it. I mean, I would much rather you say something and you're like, hey, this stunk. My feelings are not going to be hurt at all. I'm going to be so grateful. Now, my feelings will be hurt if you think this stunk and this needs to be improved, but I'm not going to say it. Then my feelings are going to be hurt, okay? Because you did not feel open enough to come and tell me, and then I'm missing out on your expertise, okay? So just be thinking about that so you can be prepared to kind of get some good, helpful feedback at the end of our time together, okay? So that's kind of where we're going today. What I'd like to do is to start out with a word of prayer. Does anybody want to open us up? Come on, people. Thank you, Josh.
Lord God, you are awesome. I thank you for this chance together. And I just thank you for the awesomeness you placed in everyone. And I pray that today you would redeem this time and just stir our hearts and stir our minds and give us whatever we need that you want us to hear so we can take it and put it into action. Jesus' name, amen.
All right. The first thing that we're going to do today is get started thinking creatively. Okay, so see why I warmed your brains up? On an elevator pitch. Okay, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to think about the following questions. What are the advantages of being a part of the United Methodist Church? What makes us unique? How has being a part of the UMC helped you grow in your faith? I think a lot of times when we get together, we say all the things that we don't like about the United Methodist Church. Here are the things that get on my nerves. Here are the things that I don't like. Here are the things that are broken. Here are the things that are awful. Here are the things. Here are the things. And whenever we get into that cycle of negativity, it rewires our brains. So that's what we look at. That's what we see. And what I'd like to do, yes, you know what? There are disadvantages of being a part of a denomination that has a lot of red tape. Sometimes we see it as red tape, but there are a lot of advantages of being a part of a denomination that kind of gives you that safety net, right? So today, what I'd like for you guys to do, let's throw out all of our negative thinking for a moment. Let's just not even go there. Let's rewire our brains in a positive way to look for the good things, look for the benefits. And then what I'd like for you guys to do is I'm going to give you 5 minutes of just quiet work time, okay? So 5 minutes. You can take an index card and kind of jot down your thoughts. And then I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to share your elevator pitch, okay? Tell me about where you go to church and why. Talk about it, okay? And you're going to have 90 seconds. I'll have a timer up here, and then we'll take turns going back and forth, okay? So you're going to have 5 minutes of work time to think about these questions, and then I'll call time on those 5 minutes, and then we'll pair up, and you guys will give your elevator pitch to somebody else, okay? Any questions? All right. I'll put 5 minutes on my timer here.
This is a quiet time.
Not 90 seconds, quiet.
I'm ready to go outside.
You may need to separate us. There would be a great thing otherwise, yeah.
2.5 minutes left. One minute left. All right. All right, time is up. So what we're gonna do, I want everybody to find a partner, and one person is going to go first, and you first one to your elevator speech in under 90 seconds, okay? And I'll put my timer on my phone, and when that buzzer goes off, you're done, you've arrived at the floor, and somebody's getting off the elevator, okay? And then we'll switch. So you guys go ahead, make sure you find a partner. Who needs a partner?
Maybe your partner.
All right, Andy needs a partner. You guys have 5 over here. Steve, will you come meet Andy's partner over here? Hey, Mike, you go with Josh and Nick. We'll let you guys. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, I think I can make a list.
All right, here we go. First person, you ready? Go.
United. I was looking for somebody. But it was like on the acting.
All right, friends.
That's tough, there.
That's tough.
Question, I like to talk to you. Question,
Yep.
are we supposed to be doing all over just the top?
You're supposed to be synthesizing any of those that you want to talk about,
Oh,
90
okay.
seconds. 90 seconds, that's all you got. Okay, you guys ready? All right, swap places, here we go. Go.
Yeah.
All right, time's up. All right, so if you had to move places, go ahead and go back to your spot. And while you guys are transitioning, no, you were All right, talk amongst yourselves. We have one group of three, so with his group.
What are we supposed to talk about?
Just talk about whatever, because it's your. But I didn't get the.
Oh, okay. Can I ask a question? This is one of the things that, how many of you grew up in this one? I know you guys, I guess, traditional. Well, I did. I did straight towards the end of the little while when I was supporting my wife. But I thought very long. I did a good enough job you did right here. And she became the
But it's always funny, on my record.
Yeah. So what denomination? No, I'm not trying to make it all about me, but I want to know, like, what denominations did you come out of? Because I know so many people that they're coming to this church.
Well, thank goodness there's faith. Miss Jesus should get praise for that.
All right. So what are some of the things that you guys talked about and you heard from your elevator speeches that are positive things, that positive experiences you guys have had because of being involved with the United Methodist Church? What are some of the things that you talked about or you heard?
Opportunity for ministry.
Opportunity for ministry. Support.
Connection.
Connection.
connection,
Accountability.
accountability,
Continuing education.
protection,
Very loving people.
continuing education,
Having a voice.
having a voice,
Holy living.
holy living,
Rich tradition.
tradition, and heritage.
Very loving people.
So one of the things that I've heard from you guys over and over is this idea of being connected. That you don't feel like you are out there on your own, or if you do, the reality is that we are very connected and that there is a support network. There is protection in that we're not just out on our own. There's continuing education and leadership development and ministry opportunities that are available, and people who are there to support us as we do ministry. And that is definitely one of the big advantages of the United Methodist Church, is this beautiful support network that is available for us to tap into whenever we want to tap into that, whenever we feel led to tap into that. And so today we're going to be talking a little bit about what it means to be a connectional church, because that is something that sets the United Methodist Church apart from other organizations, is our connection. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, and then talk a little bit about how that connection is structured, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do in your notebook, you guys have 1 Corinthians 12 through 30 printed out in your notebook, and the Countess is going to read that for us. And as she reads, I'd like for you guys to get a pen and just kind of underline the things to you that speak to this idea of being united and connected as a body of believers and as a church. Okay? So as she reads, you guys just kind of take some notes and highlight and underline.
First Corinthians chapter 12, verses 12 through 30. Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. Now, if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts of the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts. I don't need you. And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Are you body of Christ? And each one of you is a part of it. And God has placed in the church, first of all, apostles, second, prophets, third, teachers, then miracles, then gifts of healing, of helping, of guidance, and of different kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all have gifts of healing? Do all speak in tongues? Do all interpret? May the Lord so add to our understanding this the reading of His holy word.
So what are the things that you guys underlined in there? That are things that you heard that are benefits of unity and being connected. What did you hear as she read that? One body. One body. What else did you guys hear?
That even though we're different from each other, we're still needed to make, like the feet are needed to make the body move. The head.
Exactly, and I love that diversity. Diversity by design. That we're not all intended to be the same, but yet we are intended to be united. It's not that everybody is cookie cutter the exact same thing, and I think that's the way it plays out in our church too, in our denomination, is that we are uniquely different. Yet there is a unity, there is one body at the same time, which is absolutely beautiful.
I underline that equal concern, that there's equal concern, no matter what it is. It's equal.
Yeah, yeah,
Bring it.
absolutely.
I like the part after that. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, then every part rejoices with it.
Isn't that beautiful and yet convicting all at the same time? I mean, it really is, because when we think about just the multitude of churches that we have, how often do we get into this competition kind of mindset, where we're not celebrating the things that are going on in the church down the street, but we see ourselves as competing against them. And as you know, as you guys pointed out, that was one of the things that stood out to me, is just when one part suffers, then everybody suffers. When one part is doing well, then let's all celebrate and rejoice.
Sometimes we compete against each other within the church. We want somebody else's ministry, and I underline that God has placed the parts just as He wanted them to be.
Yeah.
He doesn't intend for me to do your job or you to do her job. He can do your own calling. We work together and support each other, but her calling is not yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I like the language that the weaker parts are indispensable.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that produces that equality. Yeah.
I underline every time it says form, because it reminds me of the action. And then it's a constant thought to form and to conform to be one.
That there is an action in that. Yeah.
I kind of underlined or unique when I think, and if you years should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it will not for that reason stop being part of the body. So, while I was trailing off from the church, even though I didn't consider myself part of the church, I still was, and was able to step back into it and still I belong. I'm part of this. I'm one of those people that makes up the great big everybody.
Yeah.
If I'm excluded, it's not everybody. And also from that a spiritual truth is a spiritual truth, whether I'm in sync with it or not. So it's waiting for me to come back into that realization.
Yeah. I love that. When you talk about that, it makes me think of playing hide and seek with a 2-year-old. Have you guys ever done that? And they stand there and you say, okay, let's go hide. And they do this.
Yeah.
And they really think that they are invisible. Like you cannot see them. And I think sometimes we do the same thing with the church, or the same thing with our view of the truth, or with the truth, or with God, or whatever. And we think because we don't see the truth, or because we don't see God, or because that it doesn't exist. And the reality is the reality. The fact, but you can't see it, but the reality is that it's still right there. Yeah, which is a beautiful reminder. Anything else?
I almost not said this, but I analyze everything in sports. But I'm a LeBron James fan.
Okay.
So, King James, they call him the best basketball player in the world, they say. But, on the outside, he looks healthy, but he's got it on him. So now the whole team's open because he hasn't going there, So sometimes we as a church, we got strong parts and we kind of overlook parts like on the body. You can be strong as you want to up top, but you stomp your little toe.
You're going to feel it.
I guess the lesson in the church. They're very important to the church.
Absolutely.
I just did the Grasshopper myth with Alice and Lindsay. I don't know if any of you guys ever read that or been a part of that, but you definitely need to do that. The Methodist Church is made up of more small churches than there are large.
Say from personal perspective, with losing my sight, I know there's a lot of times that stuff that I used to be able to do, the parts of me that I really don't think about, like, I don't think about my hands seeing something, I don't think of my feet seeing something. But then I'm in the middle of work, I gotta clean something. Next thing you know, I'm just wiping it down and I feel stuff that my coworkers who see have completely missed. And think about the church. We have all these small churches, but sometimes larger churches are hurting. We're the ones picking up the slack.
Yeah, well, and I think that's that beauty of equality. That it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what role you serve, it doesn't matter what size church you're a part of, that we are all needed. And we've all been gifted with a purpose to participate in that body in some way. And I do think that the United Methodist Church, through this connectional system, that's at the heart of who we are as Methodists. And I appreciate that part about our denomination. So let's put a little pin in this conversation because the Chick-fil-A is here, albeit 1 hour late, but that's okay. You guys are extra hungry now and you're ready to eat some breakfast and I'm ready to feed you. So you guys go grab some coffee. There's orange juice back there. There's chicken biscuits and I think a fruit tray and then all the array of the other stuff on the table. So. Oh, yogurt for JJ. She's not here. There are a couple of yogurt parfaits for the people who don't eat any kind of meat, which JJ's not here. If anybody wants to eat her yogurt parfait, you can.
There's five.
Okay, well then, if you want a yogurt parfait, you can run it. All right. Help yourself.
So didn't know that somebody eat it.
Right.
Very confident.
One of them.
So I don't want to open it all blue. So if you just throw the shell up on blue. Did you go back last night? You didn't? Oh, tonight? Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, no.
No. Oh, you are?
Yeah, man.
Oh, it is. That's not it. Yeah. So juice, I will. So did you, serve the church, so you met them? Oh, no. There's no. Yeah, well, we will have to each year, you understand. I don't think they know, they're still trying to work out time, because they had to drive those out, and there's the, we had to do, and they, this last thing, it's a little different. I'm just looking. Too much.
Hey guys, while we're having downtime before we get started, I have a note here. Somebody in this class who has a high school senior named John. Okay. Just a note. Sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
Where's before?
Keep talking.
Yeah.
I got it.
There's nobody new. But I think they're coming to the realization now that there's not the school clergy. So they have to make adjustments if they didn't have to get to the church. They've got caught off guard.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, they just doing all the right.
Not to drive and all.
Probably I'll have to explain a lot of mine, but he's like, now, it's like, I'll have to get something signed or something. All right, we're talking about goodbye. We're talking about secretary. She's got them. I'll call them up, and it's just. It's just so. I don't have to worry
But it was because they always. Yeah, I hear you. Work. Like yeah. Okay, Lauren. I heard you like that. You're in pastor. I hear you. Like, that you're excited for you are like excited. If you
Oh.
You turned up what's right and wrong. But.
Basically, my. Well, we have, one brother-in-law. Several years ago. Right. Thankfully, he's in prison. Someone big sentence.
And I think of the word more of a sentence. I'm saying.
One lady up there, all the way, that's one.
See, you combine the two.
And so somebody.
I'm trying to get her day late. I got a lady.
We Past church,
So you
I
would
was
have
in,
a third.
You're
kind of in between me All right, so as you guys are eating, we're gonna go ahead and continue on. We talk about this being a connection system. I have a couple of people that we asked to do a video and just kind of talk about their role and what that means in terms of being a part of this connectional system. So Nita, who you guys remember from way back early in our class, she is on video talking a little bit about what she does as Connectional Ministries Director. So she'll talk a little bit about that. And then Henry Bass is the DS of the South Central District. And he's going to talk a little bit about his role as a district superintendent of the South Central District, okay? And then we're gonna look at how all of this stuff, where people fit in with all of that kind of structure, okay?
This is Henry's last year after 8 years. of
It
serving.
is,
Yeah.
it is, yeah. And he talks about retiring, but I think he's gonna miss it in his heart, so,
We're gonna miss him.
yeah, I know it. All right, so here's, I'm gonna lower the light so you can see a little bit better.
Connectional Ministries is the branch of the annual conference that is charged with providing resources and anything needed to the churches, the clergy, the laity, so that all can be better connected with each other, with the larger church in the state of Georgia, with the even larger church in the southeastern United States, and then with the global church. We are the glue that holds the church together. We provide lots of avenues to give people training and education, to provide them the resources that they need. We do pathways, we just finished the leadership tour, we do the certified lay ministry class, now we've picked up the lay certified training classes. We also do a number of things in individual churches, so if there's a church that has a need, you're welcome to call, and we will help direct you to resources and get you what you need. One of the most visible works that we do from Connectional Ministries are the camping, children, and youth events that are held down here at Upward. These events, particularly the summer camps, are events that, believe it or not, help lead people into ministry. And many of the folks who've been to the camps are now serving ministries that stretch across our annual conference, the multiple congregations there. We host the Strengthening the Black Church for the 21st Century work and work with as many of our minority churches as possible to help them grow and be stronger. We represent the connection of the church. Methodism has been founded on connecting with followers of Christ all around the geographic area and the globe since its very beginning. So as we connect people to each other here in South Georgia and then to other churches and other ministries outside of South Georgia, we're maintaining the tradition that's been a part of us since the very beginning. I invite you to visit the conference website, sgaumc.org. You'll find the conference, and you will see the way that Connectional Ministries works to pull the conference together as you go through the many, many pages of the website.
All right, now Nita.
Connectional Ministries is the
we have a bishop who oversees the conference, and then we have cabinet members, which consists of 6. The bishop oversees the spiritual and temporal part of the church. The superintendents are an extension of the bishop's office. Our role is to oversee the churches that have been assigned to us or appointed by the bishop. And then we do the church conferences. We also make the appointments with the bishop as the appointed cabinet. Our role is mainly to oversee each church, each pastor, and report to the bishop, letting know what's going on within that district. We are an extension of the bishop's office. The bishop makes all the decisions for the appointments as well as for the conference. We call church conferences a place where we can know about the church, know about the pastor, know about the duties of the church. Also, the business of the church, as well as the things that we can do to help the church to become a larger church. Growth through evangelism, missions, anything that we can do to help the church to be a better church, to reach out for Jesus Christ.
All right. Way to go, Henry. Hold on, I'm gonna turn on the light. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how the church is structured, okay? Because even Henry and Nita, the interesting thing to me is once we're a part of a structure, we kind of become blind and deaf to all of the terms that we throw around within that structure. And we just assume that everybody else knows what we're talking about, right? And we can do that as a part of our denomination. We can also do that just with Christian words as well. So I think we just need to be really, really aware that we kind of have, that's one of our blind spots, is once you're in an organization, you use this internal language that then you just assume everybody else knows. So what we're going to do first is talk a little bit about the structure of the United Methodist Church, and then talk about how each of those are connected, since we're really focusing on connectionalism. Okay. So we have, maybe I don't know if I can get this to where you can see it or not, but you guys already know it at this table anyway. All right, so at the very top, we have General Conference. All right, how many of you guys have heard something about General Conference? Okay, so you guys know that General Conference is meeting kind of right now into the next week. That's where Jay is. That's where Derek McAleer is. That's where some of the people, that's where Nita is. That's where Allison is. A lot of the people that have been leading us through this class, that's where they are this week. And I hope you guys are praying. Now, this is a special called session of General Conference just to deal with this one issue, okay? This is not the normal kind of General Conference that happens. Those happen every 4 years, okay? So this is a special called session, but the General Conference is made up of the whole denomination, okay? That's everybody, and that's everybody worldwide, okay? So a lot of times, because we live in the United States, we just think about the United Methodist Church in terms of our reality in the United States. But it is a worldwide denomination, which is another great resource for us, that we have the ability to interact with and learn from United Methodists all around the globe, which brings just this beautiful richness and diversity to our denomination. So people from all over the globe are gathered for General Conference right now, okay? So you have General Conference, and then underneath General Conference, we have what? Those of you who know the structure. Not yet annual conferences. Jurisdictional conference, okay? So jurisdictional conference or overseas, a lot of those are called central conferences, okay? So it depends on where you are, but this is how it works in the United States, is that we have these jurisdictional conferences. There are 5 regions that are represented by these jurisdictions, okay? And they are made of 8 to 15 annual conferences, that's our next level that we're going to talk about. And the 5 jurisdictions are the Northeastern, the Southeastern, North Central, South Central, and Western. Those are the 5 jurisdictions in the General Conference.
Are you having it again?
So you have Northeastern, Southeastern, and that's us, North Central, South Central, and Western. Okay? The jurisdictions meet every 4 years, and one of the big things that they do is that they elect new bishops and select people that serve on general boards and agencies and things like that. Okay, so those are kind of the leaders that they are responsible for electing and selecting. Okay.
Yeah, real quick,
Mhm.
general conference is usually, like 2020 will be the next general conference.
Mhm.
Normally election years.
Jurisdictional, do they meet
They meet every 4 years.
as well? But
I don't know what their cycle is, though. I don't
And I
know.
think there are 2 years
If it's
after
two, I think
general
it's 2 years.
conference and then,
Yeah. So,
jurisdiction.
I was
yeah.
just curious.
They're kind of like legislative body, I guess.
very much, yes. Yeah. So this is 4 years, that's 4 years. Okay, so 5 regions. Then we have what level? What level is next? Annual conference, okay? Now, annual conferences meet how often? Every year. Annual, every year, okay? That'll help you remember that. And this is a geographically organized group, okay? So we are a part of the United Methodist Church. So we have representatives at General Conference. We are a part of the Southeastern jurisdiction, okay? And we are in the South Georgia Conference, all right?
So annual conference, isn't it called that?
Yeah, annual
Because even though
conference,
it's-
yes,
yeah.
yes. And there is a North Georgia annual conference, okay? So, and there's a Alabama,
Florida.
West Florida conference, and there's a, I don't know what all the rest of them are. You guys look it up on Google, okay? But there are lots of them. So each one of these jurisdictional conferences have 8 to 15 annual conferences underneath their purview, okay? Now, the annual conference is led by who? Henry talked about it. The bishop, okay? So there's a bishop that oversees the whole annual conference, all right? And for us, that is the area of South Georgia. And then there's another bishop that oversees the area that's in North Georgia, okay? And then after annual conference, then we're further divided by what? Districts, okay? All right. How many districts are there in the South Georgia Annual Conference? 6. All right. There are 6. Yes, this year there are 6. Let's just say that, okay? There are 6 districts in the South Georgia Annual Conference. And each of those districts is led by a district superintendent, or we most oftenly refer to that person as the DS, okay? So when you hear us talking about the DS, that's who it is, okay? So the bishop is the one that is in charge of the whole annual conference. The DS oversees that particular district, okay?
District superintendent?
District superintendent. Now, I think we have somebody representative of each district in this room, okay? So if you are in the Northwest District, raise your hand.
That would be
Columbus?
Columbia.
Am I in Northwest? Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're telling you to raise your hand. All right, Southwest. Anybody Southwest?
Southwest.
I'm pretty sure you guys are Southwest. Yeah. All right. If you don't know, just look and somebody else will tell you to raise your hand. Okay. South Central. All right, a bunch of you guys. All right, North Central. Northeast.
Northeast.
And coastal. All right, a lot of coastal people. Okay.
We don't have anybody from Northeast?
North,
That would be Savannah.
no,
Yeah,
that's
that's coastal.
Statesboro.
Coast.
That's Statesboro,
Oh, okay.
Claxton, Vidalia, maybe. Is Vidalia in there?
Savannah's coastal.
Savannah's
Yeah.
coastal. Okay, so those are districts and led by the district superintendent, okay? And they all have multiple churches underneath their purview, okay? Now, when you get back down even further than that, those districts by church and by clergy often meet as cluster groups. Have you guys heard that term before? Okay, cluster groups. So cluster groups are smaller groups of pastors that meet periodically for support, for encouragement, for information. Jay is a part of a cluster group, and a lot of times they meet for lunch on Wednesdays. That's their thing. And then they talk about how are things going and all of that. Some cluster groups are more active than other cluster groups. It depends on the group of people, how far apart they are, geographically speaking. That we're moving from really, really big, and we're kind of narrowing it down, okay, narrowing the focus. Sometimes you guys have heard of charge conference, all right? So once again, that's getting even smaller. So what would be a charge conference? Individual churches,
Well, it can
okay?
be made up of a charge, which are a group of churches together.
Exactly.
One pastor normally serves.
Yes, yes. So sometimes you will have, thank you, you will have a charge where you will have multiple churches. So there was a time that I actually did some work with I don't know which jurisdiction they were, but anyway, they were in Pennsylvania, whatever the jurisdiction that is. And I was working with a group of pastors, and there was a clergy couple there, and between the two of them, they served 14 churches. Wow. It was like, you guys get the gold star. Like, how is that even possible? So I don't know that any of our people here in this area are going to serve 7 churches at the same time. But it's, that is a real possibility when you have a very rural kind of environment and you have small churches that are spread out. Okay. So that's what a charge is. But a charge conference is a little bit different. What is the point of a charge conference? A charge conference.
Take care of the official business of the church.
Bring them up to churches together.
Okay, so bringing what?
The multiple churches together.
All right, bringing the multi-churches together, if you are on a charge for sure. And it's to take care of the business of the church. So every year in the fall, the district superintendent will come and will meet with either a group of churches that are doing a charge conference together or an individual church, however that is structured. And that's when you guys talk about the paperwork that you've submitted, the different things that are going on. You have a chance to share kind of highlights of what your church is doing. You have a chance to celebrate that. You have a chance to talk about what God is doing. And the district superintendent comes and kind of looks over all of that stuff. It's where you prepare the budget, the pastor salary and things for the next year. It's all of those kinds of paperwork things, okay? You guys will actually be a part of this charge conference in terms of your certification and recertification for certified lay ministry, okay? If you have a certification, then during charge conference, you will fill out a form and you will say, this is my certification. And sometimes we have to, every 2 years, you're going to have to kind of re-up that and all of that. This is why it's current. These are the things that I'm learning. These are the things that I'm doing as a part of that. So you'll have a little form to fill out in order to kind of retain your certification and keep it continuous. Okay. So you guys in the charge conference report will all have a page in that report. Okay. Any questions about that?
And if you want to go further, go into local pastor or ordained or certified candidacy, you have to be approved by your charge conference. So
yes.
You have to realize that only takes place usually one time a year, and you need to make sure you've got everything lined up, your paperwork filled out, so you can vote on that, because you'll have to wait another year before.
Yeah, and it is possible to have a called charge conference. So even if, let's say, God tells you in the spring that you need to be serving in ministry, you don't say, well, I'm sorry, God, but you got to wait till October the 14th, So you can have.
I want to hear you tell it now.
So so you guys can have a called church conference just for that one particular thing, that the DS comes and he's a part of it and all of that. So you can call it, but it's not something, hey, every month let's have a church conference. Let's just do,
Nobody likes
that's
church
not,
conference.
yeah. So, so that's what that is for. Yes, thank you. Anything else on the structure of the church?
Church conference also slates the leadership for the upcoming year as well.
Yes, yes. So you have a nominations committee, is what it's typically called, and the nominations committee is the committee that chooses the leaders. That is a really, really important committee. They generally don't meet it, but man, that nominations committee is crucial, crucial. And if you guys can influence how they go about choosing leaders,
Well, you should be the chair of that committee. If that's the only committee the
if you
pastor
are,
can chair.
yes, if you are the pastor. But for those of you guys who are not serving churches, whatever you can do to be able to influence that process, and help your nominations committee see that being a leader is not just who has time available, that there's a lot more to being a leader on some of these things. And a lot of times we just put in a name on a spot because I know Rebecca's always going to say yes, so let's just put her down, And instead of really looking at the person and saying, where are they called to serve? Where are they best equipped to serve? And how can they really important committee? Any other thoughts about structure? Any other questions about structure?
So how does the information flow out? So the church conference makes decisions on who's gonna serve where, right?
For lay leaders, yes, but not for pastors.
Okay.
So for pastors, one of the things that Henry said in his video was that the district superintendents work together with the bishop, and that's called the bishop's cabinet. Okay, and the cabinet also includes the district superintendent, Jay, who is congregational development. He's another agency that is here at the annual conference level. So congregational development, connectional ministries. There's a communications person on there. I'm trying to think who else serves on. What's his title? Administrative services, I think is what that's called. Anyway, there are those kinds of people that serve at the annual conference level. And the district superintendents, along with those people, those are the ones that are called the bishop's cabinet. Now, the district superintendents have work with the bishop in order to assign pastors and things like that to churches. However, it's the bishop's ultimate call. So that's his responsibility. But at the local church level, that nominations committee are the ones that say, here are the slate of leaders in our church for this upcoming year, whether it be trustees or whether it be your staff parish relations, which at the chapel we call the HR team, whether that be the finance team, whatever those core groups are. And you even choose people for the nominations committee when you have people coming off. So for the nominations committee, choose good people pickers. That's who you're looking for that role, is somebody that is well connected in the church and has a good sense and a good ability to identify people who are good quality leaders who kind of have that in mind. Okay?
So if we are the certified minister for that church, can we chair that committee, the lay leadership committee, or is that?
I don't know. I would look in the book of discipline or ask Nita or ask Derek. Yeah, I don't know.
Just wondering about that. I've done that.
I think you do. I think that by position you do, because Jay does that for the chapel, so I think so.
And then another thing, as far as the certified minister is appointed by the DS. I know the bishop's authority, but do we come into the cycle for setting appointments, I guess? Does that go all the way up, or is that something a local decision by the deans?
That I don't know. It's different for some of you guys who are serving churches than it is for Jenna, who's a small group director. Jenna's not going to be appointed to the chapel as a small group director.
Okay, yes,
She gets to choose and stay where she is, you know. Now, however, if there was a church that came open, they might say, Jenna, you might be great for this. And you get to say yes or no, I don't think so, not at this time. So it's a little bit different than, it's a little bit different for certified lay ministers.
I think the certified or the lay pastors who serve in churches
Mhm.
are appointed by the bishop, but they are assigned by the DS.
Yes.
But to be able to serve, you have to be appointed by the bishop, be able to serve a
Yes.
church.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Mhm.
even though you're assigned by the district superintendent.
And one of the things, so we talked about, or we have been talking about, you guys, the next step for you guys will be moving through that DCOM, okay? That's another Methodist term. That is the District Committee on Ordained Ministry. That's what that is. And each district has one of those. So Debbie, who was here last week, she serves, and Chance that was here a couple weeks ago, they both serve on the District Committee on Ordained Ministry for the coastal district, okay? And basically that is the group of people that are lay pastors and certified lay ministers will go, and they're the ones that just kind of check with you. And like Debbie was telling me, she said, I look at them and say, what do you guys need? What do you guys need from us? This is your opportunity to speak into the district and to say, and to have a conversation. Because a lot of times you don't have the opportunity to talk to people who have the ability to move some things forward and to do some stuff. So this way they get to know you, they get to see your heart for ministry and what you're doing. And if you have things that you want them to know, these are the people that you can talk to about that, okay? So that's what that group of people is, that you will have one of those at every district. So depending on, where you are as far as the district goes, you'll be meeting with a different group of people. And even those DCOM things are organized by subgroups depending on how many people they have to move through that. So you may be in the coastal district and you may never get to talk to Debbie because you're talking to Chance and his group or whatever. So it just depends on how many people are coming through as to how many people will be meeting with you.
And they're the ones also that approve you to go forward into candidacy. You have to go before them.
Yes,
through the
yes.
process.
Yeah, but even if you're not going through candidacy, they're still the ones that say,
Right, whether you can serve or not.
yeah, that just say whether you can be certified or not. That's their big thing, is whether or not you can be certified. So you guys can serve in a church and not be certified, because we've all done that at some point in our lives.
Even those that are not certified, we've gone in front of them. I've been going in front of them twice,
Well,
every year.
but this is.
But you're a certified lay speaker, one.
Yeah, I was.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
You're
exactly. So you had some level of certification, but I'm saying you don't have, in order to lead a ministry in a church, you don't have to have a certification. That's what I'm saying. So there are millions of people all around the world that serve as lay people and they are not certified. But if you are certified, then that's where DCOM comes in.
How often do they meet?
They meet they meet twice a year. Their big meeting is every fall, okay? So you guys will go in their fall season. That's when you guys will plug into that. But then they also have spring meetings, which unfortunately we did not plan this well. They just had those.
Really?
Yeah. So, or they
I didn't
have-
have to, I had my phone, so I didn't go to spring, right?
Well,
yeah.
Usually spring is like to catch those people that couldn't meet. in the fall or something like
Exactly.
that.
So they funnel the majority of the people through the fall groups, but then if you weren't available, then they have a little spring meeting. And I was hoping that we could squeeze you guys in, but they've already had them.
What's the full name for that committee?
District Committee on Ordained Ministry. Okay.
How do we find out about those things?
So I'm gonna go over all of that with you guys in a minute. Yeah.
And there's also a conference committee on ordained ministry, also as far as for ordaining elders.
Yes, yes. And Jay Harris is the one that, oh, and he's another one that's
Yeah,
on
that's right, yeah.
on the cabinet. And yes, there's another one of those, yes.
A curiosity question.
Sure.
Who, is there some of that, I'm talking about the bishop oversees the annual districts, his district. When you get at the jurisdictional general conference, is there like a body that oversees?
There are boards, yes, boards with leaders and things like that that oversee.
Made up of the bishops.
Yes, yeah.
So it's called Council of Bishops for General Conference. And they'll have different jobs like secretary or whatever, whatever. And they kind of run the meeting, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we have our annual conference, we have our secretary and all that. They have.
Yeah.
that.
And if all of the stuff that's happening with the denomination makes the news, you will probably see the Council of Bishops talked about, and that's what that is right there. Or they may talk to one of the people that are on the Council of Bishops.
Is that if it makes the news or when it makes the
It's already made a new one.
Well, Jay said it depends on if Trump does something. If Trump does something, then it'll get squeezed out. So we just wait and see, you know.
Let's text him, let's just, our group can text him,
Start something.
and he'll do something, and that'll be on national news.
Yes.
Just remembering something Nina said from our very first meeting. For if we go on through and get certified, she said, be ready, your phone will be ringing because they are so in need of lay ministers. So do we just automatically go into a pool of
when you go to
certified
DCOM,
people?
then you say, hey, I'm not interested in
Okay.
that, and they won't say, Jessica, have I got an opportunity for you? So at that point, or seven.
Oh,
Okay. Yes, but you can let your intention be known up front that, hey, this is where I'm called. That's why they want to meet with you. This is where I'm called. This is what I'm doing. This is really where I'm serving right now. And if you say, well, I'm open to other things and I don't know what that would look like, and then they're going to put your name on another list. Exactly.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to say no, because he's calling, and if you say no, he still may call you again. So.
Hey, look, if anybody knows Lynn Mono's wife, you don't get to say no ever.
I'm gonna tell you, when I worked with my wife at the district superintendent of Waycross District, I had several of the district superintendents says, look through these speakers and see if you can come up with somebody that may take a church.
Okay.
And that's how Tony got here. Cause I called Tony and I said, would you be interested in taking a church? You got to talk to Benji first, but would you be interested? And he said, well, let me think about it. And I told Henry, and Henry made the call, or not Henry, but Benji made the call. And Tony took the churches.
Yeah. So, okay, anything else about structure? All right, are you guys feeling good? Everybody is relatively clear? Okay, all right. Well, what we're going to do next is you guys have been reading Living Our Beliefs, all right? So what we are going to do is spend a little bit of time in a book discussion, okay? And how many of you guys have ever been to like a book club? Okay, you read a chapter, you talk about it, you read a chapter, you talk about it. Well, you guys have read all the chapters, so we're going to talk about all the chapters. So what we're going to do, what is it, 10:30? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we will do is I'll just kind of monitor the time, but we'll have probably like 45 minutes to talk about this. And the way that we're going to do it is in the middle of your table, you guys have a jar with a bunch of questions, okay? And you guys will take turns one person will draw a question from the jar. They're going to read to the rest of the group, and then you guys are going to have a discussion based on that question. Okay? It is an open book discussion. So it'll tell you what the chapter is. So if you need to go to that chapter, then please feel free to do that. Okay? So go.
I've read most of I'm glad I read it because he was over here. He's the bishop. He's also a secretary.
We're on the same team now.
You guys don't love You guys give Chris a hard time.
Well, the only way you can consider it is to be there to the initial pastors, I mean, they kind of work with it, but
That's really what do you think about the how do
that's basically the same. You're doing the same stuff. It's in there. Course instead of reading the same
That's what I'm being.
As long as they don't. Pastor.
I'm
Hey, why don't you take a break? Keep doing what's supposed to take a break. That's a that's also the bad thing. There's some that are not so bad. Kids, pastors, churches, they do a lot of that. In a year or two. They know they're gonna have to. But I see the good thing about it also. Yes. They say, there's still certain.
Well, that's the way we were doing it when I got there.
Mom was we put some. So we think, oh, they're making all A's, but it's their, and he was saying, kind of that, it's not.
Yeah.
Education, and really pay attention. Wow, what kind of person-
Well, I was like, let's say, you know, like,
That's one of the biggest issues of.
Well, it's different for everybody.
It's like that, we were forgiven.
That's where you need to have that people.
Start off.
Working with people to manage, discern the difference between, hey, this person right here, how much this lady right here. I need to visit her.
And see, that's how we solve it.
So we're talking about
And I don't, it doesn't necessarily have to be like.
I guess your beliefs are gonna line up that way.
But having some interaction, other sides.
So then if you look back, okay,
Somebody in town.
so if you get off
Like a line.
and so it's like
Kind of like. I know, right?
It's already got that.
I saw it.
So. Just that guys.
convenient, just like. Yeah, every home.
See, I think that's very different. She is frowned upon that. I mean, there's stuff I do, she's frowned upon. I know I believe this, there's a conservative too. Chest award.
You know,
That's I shared that thing, she did the check last week. She said, do not hug. It says, I'm gonna hug certain individuals. No, I'm not gonna hug everyone. So I'm just good. I don't need this. I know some people are.
Look at it.
What means of grace have been most by design? What means of grace?
Tradition, grace shows us how things have always been believed. Experience is our experience. We all have our
I know you feel rejected. On the same way. We can read the same.
It was a horrible feeling for that.
Well, that's just why we're all going through a counseling court. I try to put on her what my needs are, and then there's things that she needs touch and all that, and I'm not a touchy feely person. So she feels neglected, but I didn't see that. That's when they got a secretary that's the doors cracked, but they're aware of the situation.
You have a lot of support.
I would listen to your reason, your experience.
I don't know.
I'm teaching them our slate classes. What they want to learn. Part of the part of or why don't you try
You're the leader. I'd be careful how you say this.
I guess that's part of our.
You know,
That's usually conviction. Oh, yeah, and you know, you can say something with a little bit, meaning one way, and then all of a sudden, your whole church, you see this look, and I'm like, okay, I need to go back and explain myself on that, because my understanding, their understanding, I didn't pass that one. They took me. Let me get with it. I got one of them. I read this chapter. So chapter 1. Yeah. But let me get started. How important is it to know your manager? To know your family heritage. See, I grew up in Methodist church, so I mean, that's always a big part of my life. My granny, his papa, they were I was absolutely pretty early.
It talks about like our experiencing the Holy Spirit.
So these factors valid for knowing.
The authority, the experience of God, for being in authority, and knowing that you are meant to be permission, like, things, that's the experience. With the Holy Spirit and with the God's gift for being in that time, my grace,
Read that next paragraph first.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
But then she was at age with me. She was like,
Because she liked people.
We don't think about this.
How much is the Methodist church here? We talk about our heritage is our church. We don't. We probably don't. I try to include Wesley, but we have a lot of folks. And when I say Wesley, I can see those. And they're just like, what way they think they're following. Listen to what it needs to say. Understand your body, where it's coming from. Yeah. And there's, but if you sit down and talk to them, chest changes. You're in the right place, but you still have that ability to appreciate the church.
I would go back. If we could.
Well, I've heard it called Methodist too. I had a friend. He was Catholic, and his wife was Methodist, but he done a lot of, he went to church at Methodist church, but he had a Catholic.
What do you find?
Yeah. You know what I like? And I didn't know this until I was talking about the man Philadelphia, part of the AMU church. And the Methodist, the early Methodists recognized that there should be culture that's all out different. Part of our lives where we worship and now we're in Spartan Church where we do have a mixed congregation. I was thinking,
But
Oh, yeah. Okay, definitely.
Woman pastor, they don't call you their name, they call you woman pastor. She talked about this, she was AMA, we get together in our churches for lunch. And she said, you know, it's almost like we go to church, you know, wines, we're all big. And she said, but I still have those things that apply to and she said, then I come home, I live in a community that's mostly black. And then she said, I have people in my community that look at me and say, why are you going up to the black church? And she said, it just feels awful to have people on all sides looking at you in that way. But she said, here's what hope is, I call my friends so that you can who I am. It's the ones that really can't tell me others as to what she said, I don't see it as where it's going to be a white section or a Asian section. So I see it as where all nations and nationalities praise the Lord and not But you go to some elite churches, they have dark. Okay, so you know a lot about that.
Actually, expansion, yeah. So we got the survey.
I'm just thankful I read that.
They got me halfway. Always for Sunday.
I don't know anybody that's going to compute.
Oh.
Just that one nice.
Yeah. In Alaska, it's old time, it's settled, so you have a very big.